Let us join in this time of meditation and reflection, giving ourselves up to this moment as we seek peace and purpose in our living. I open with the following words from Greta W. Crosby. In reflecting upon the dispiriting time in which we live, I have come to believe that the basic religious response is to refuse to be dispirited for long. May we seek and find grounding wherever it may be found, perhaps in the buds blooming, in the grace of a touch, a smile, a word, a helping hand, a decision or vote or election that goes well, a discovery that enlightens or encourages us. May we trust in the Spirit that will not be quelled forever, that rises up in people from some mysterious source, energy that comes again to affirm that people matter, their needs and aspirations matter, and that the condition of people's flourishing is a cultivation of truth and love. The passage we reflect on today comes from Genesis chapter 18, verses 1 through 15. And the essence of the story is that Abraham and Sarah, now quite elderly, are camped out in the desert. And a messenger of God comes to visit them and speaks with Abraham. Sarah is in a doorway, tucked back, listening to the conversation. She's out of sight, but she hears what's being said between Abraham and this visitor. Surely she had given up on having a child at this age, though God's promise was that she would. It's no wonder that she laughed when she overheard the proclamation that she would be with child. Though she denied it when she was confronted, however, that she didn't laugh. But this story is really about trust. It is about trusting in the promises of our faith, even though and even when that seems so unlikely, the way seems so unlikely for us. What comes to mind is the passage in which God tells his followers, "For truly I tell you, if you have faith the size of a mustard seed, you will say to this mountain, move and it from here to there, and it will move. And nothing will be impossible for you." You see, no obstacle can stand in the way of God's promises and our faith in them. The late Reverend Dr. Robert H. Schuller penned words that had become known as the Possibility Thinker's Creed. And he said, "When faced with a mountain, I will not quit. I will keep on striving until I climb over, find a path through, tunnel underneath, or simply stay and turn the mountain into a miracle with God's help." The theme here is that all things are possible with God. And that applies to where we find ourselves today in the midst of guidelines protecting our health and dealing with limitations that we are not accustomed to, as well as facing the inequities in our society that marginalize many in our nation and in our world. The health and well-being of every individual correlates with the health and well-being of our communities and our entire world. We must advocate for change, and we know this as people of faith, but it is the how part that we struggle with. And let's face it, we are tired of one crisis after another, or should I say, in the midst of another, that we question how best to act. What can we do that really matters, that really makes a difference? Being true to our faith means finding a way to respond no matter how inconsequential we think it might be. For we never know what we might say or do the impact that that might have on another. One small act has the potential for great change. I would imagine that each of us, if we take a few moments to think and reflect, can bring up a story or more from our lives in which someone's generosity, kindness, care, and concern left a positive impact on us in a way that the other may never have even contemplated or considered. Furthermore, we cannot allow what seem to be obstacles in our way to paralyze us into inaction. For the possibilities to succeed, the possibilities to overcome the dark storm clouds that threaten our way always exist. The possibilities around these things always exist. This is the essence of our faith, that placing our trust in the unknown mystery of life and all goodness brings harmony, brings the unfolding of peace. It has been said of God through the prophet Jeremiah, "I know the plans I have for you, plans to prosper you and not harm you, plans to give you hope and a future." The you in this passage is not only us as individuals, but rather you means as peoples, as society, you as all humanity living in harmony. Plans that give us hope, that give us a future. And so we persevere in spite of the hurdles before us, in spite of the voices that say it's not possible, in spite of those who suggest our efforts are not worthwhile. I am continually touched by story after story I hear of folks in our community and beyond that are growing food to help others in this time, who are helping teach folks how to grow their own food, who are donating time and money to bridge the gap for those who are financially struggling in this moment, or standing on a corner with a placard proclaiming solidarity with our Black brothers and sisters, or calling out hate and speaking boldly about unity. People who are going beyond themselves, perhaps feeling a bit awkward outside of their comfort zone, but acting, doing, being, because making a difference matters that much. Trusting is a fascinating concept. Trust means placing our confidence in an outcome that we are not sure how to get to, but believe that we will achieve. In faith, trust means placing our hope in promises that God has set before us, not as idle spectators waiting for things to unfold before us, but participants in the creative, hope-giving process, being open to the role we are called to play along the way. I'm reminded of the story of Olympian Wilma Rudolph. If you don't know her story, I suggest you look it up. It's quite fascinating. She was born premature and at a young age suffered, among other illnesses, scarlet fever, pneumonia, and she contracted polio at the age of 5. While she recovered, she lost the strength of her left leg and foot. She wore a brace until she was 12 years old. Because she was African American, there were no real medical care for her in the town of Clarksville, Tennessee, where she and her family lived. And so she and her mother traveled to Nashville, about 50 miles away, for 2 years, once a week, on a bus, to go to a facility there that could work to help to remediate her condition. When she came home in between those visits, those weekly visits, members of her family gave her leg a massage 4 times a day in order to help circulate the blood in that leg. And by 12 years old, she was walking without the aid of a leg brace or an orthopedic shoe. And at school, she became involved in sports and ultimately was encouraged by Ed Temple, the track and field coach, who noticed her and saw her energy and desire and saw potential in her, and he encouraged her to start running and become a part of his track and field team. In 1956, when she was in high school, she qualified for the Summer Olympics in Melbourne, bringing home a bronze medal with her relay team. And when she showed her friends that bronze medal when she got home, she said, "You know, next time I'm going to bring home a gold medal." And so in 1960, she went on to become the first American woman to win 3 gold medals in a single Olympiad. And her story goes on from there, with victories on and off the track and pushing for equal rights and overcoming barriers seen and unseen. Her story is one of inspiration and determination, a story of faith in the possibilities and hope in spite of all that seemed to stand in the way. It serves as encouragement for us as we face what seem to be mountains standing in our pathways. Encouragement and inspiration because there are always means to get around, climb over, go through, or turn those mountains into blessings. Trusting does not mean we have all the answers. It means we are willing to go hand in hand into the future together with our Creator and with one another. Helen Keller said there are 3 great lessons to learn in life: to love everyone sincerely, to act in every way with the highest motives, and to trust God without hesitation. Blessings and peace to you this day.